Hello and welcome to Marvel Vision, a Marvel Studios TV show podcast brought to you by Cinema Sangha. My name is Devin Faraci. I am one of the hosts of the program. Joining me, as he traditionally does,
My name is Derek Faraci, and all the girls want to know who's the cutest boy on death row. How are you, Devin?
it's raining in LA right now.
Oh, yeah? That's good. You need it.
We need it. That's like such a funny thing. Everybody says that. It's like you walk down the street, people are just saying to each other, "We needed it. We needed it." Like it's like.
Yeah.
Anyway, you may hear some of the rain hitting the air conditioner here. So this might be our first ASMR episode.
Oh, there you go.
Soothing rainfall background.
Now I'm going to think of the Luden Wainwright song all day.
Did you move your stuff behind you around?
No. I
No?
did not. No. You know what I did?
What'd you do?
I got a new camera. And
Oh, wow. Look at
stuff.
wow.
Look at that. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
Oh,
Whoa.
boy. Quality's still not any good, but okay.
It's 4K. What are you talking about?
I mean, it's not how it's coming through
Look
on
at
this
that.
end. I'm curious to see when I put this edit together what it looks like, because this looks like the same grainy, pixelated shit I look at.
I'll tell you what, looking at you right now, you're constantly pixelated. And then when I see the video, you're not pixelated.
Yeah.
So it is Zencaster.
The connection. It is Zencaster. Yeah. We use Zencaster to record these programs, and they're not giving us the highest quality video. But that's okay. I don't really care about that.
I got darker.
Well, that looks actually much better on my end.
Too bright.
Wow, you have so much control over there. What camera did you get?
It's a Depstech.
This is Temu? Did you bet it off Temu?
No, I got it on Amazon. It was on sale for like $30.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at that. So dark.
Wow, how exciting. You have so much control.
So bright.
Anyway, it's raining here in LA. We're very happy about it. It makes the day nice and chilly. Oh my God. People who are listening have no clue what's happening right now. Derek's making his camera black and white. I'm not sure if it's going to come through that way or not. I honestly don't know if the recording is going to look like
that. It's going to be hilarious if it doesn't.
Oh my God. It makes it nice and cozy. I feel real good today. I played a bunch of records and I did cleaning. Oh boy. It's just one of those days. Like that's what you want to do.
Yes. From my time in LA, the rare rainy days were always like kind of exciting. It was like, how nice, how pleasant.
It's real nice, real pleasant. Things that are not nice and pleasant. You watched the Star Trek Section 31 TV movie, didn't you?
I sure did.
I was telling you how bad it was, and that inspired you to want to watch it.
Yes. And it was terrible. It was truly, I want to bring up one bit that really drove me crazy.
Yeah, what's that?
To the point that I rewound multiple times.
Well, wait,
I can't be hearing this correctly.
Let's lay some groundwork here for the folks that don't know what we're talking about. Star Trek on Paramount Plus just put out a TV movie called Star Trek Section 31 that is about a team of supposedly black ops people who operate in the shady corners of the galaxy that Starfleet cannot. And Michelle Yeoh returns as her character from Star Trek Discovery, as this TV movie really goes out of its way to remind us she is in fact a genocidal cannibal, and everybody's very okay with this.
They're all pretty chill about it. Yeah.
They all like her a lot, in fact. And they have like a mission they have to go on, and it is not good. It was supposed to be a TV show.
Okay.
So I think that they took like the whole season arc and just made it into a movie.
Well, that would explain why it also felt like back in the day when it was before it was even UPN, when it was like the Paramount Action Network or whatever it was called, and they would do like those like we're making a Midnight Run TV movie, and it was clearly like, we're gonna do this, and if enough people watch, we'll make it into a TV show, like that kind of deal. Like it was clearly, it felt like a TV movie pilot for a series.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's more or less what it was.
Yeah.
So what was your one thing?
All right. Towards the beginning, when they're trying to get to Giorgio, and the one guy comes in, he's like, "Oh, I got this thing, and it's sparkles, but we're going to pretend it's drugs." And she does the like he says he asks her, "Have you ever done this before?" She says, "This would be one of my few first times." Now it's supposed to be a thing where it's like I've done everything but this.
Right.
But this would be one of my few first times suggests she has done nothing because she has few first times.
I guess that she should have said this is one of my remaining few first times.
Yes. Or
Okay.
this will be one of my last first times.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Because this is one of my few first times. So just like I've never driven a car. I've never left the state. I've like it's you could imagine Samwise Gamgee saying that.
I think it's amazing that out of all of the things that are awful in this movie, that's the thing that you are laser focused on. This one line that's sort of clumsily written.
No, that is the line that to me that like hit me where I was like, I know they're trying to make it sound like she's done so many things, but it doesn't. And that is the problem throughout this whole thing, I think, is all of it is like, isn't this cool? And it's like, no, none of it is. None of it is.
Yeah.
Arguably, the Vulcan, who's a robot,
who has a guy in him.
He's got a little guy
pretending to be a guy, pretending to be a guy.
Yeah. And also his accent is so bad it might be a hate crime.
That was what sold Derek. I told Derek that there's a Vulcan who has a Lucky Charms Irish accent the whole movie. And that was what sold Derek on actually watching this thing.
Yeah.
But at the end, he gets like a real Tennessee Williams accent at the end. But I do declare.
Well, at the end, he's doing a Tennessee Williams woman, right? Because it's supposed to be the Irish guy's wife.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's like, I have to make up for what he's done to you, sugar. And it's like, what is going on? Like,
so crazy. The biggest atrocity in this movie is that Sam Richardson is in it, and he's absolutely wasted and will never be in Star Trek again.
It's such a shame. It's such a shame.
Awful.
Like that. Yeah, that's the most upsetting thing.
Yeah,
is that somehow they were able to make something with Sam Richardson where I'm like, this is not good.
Right.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And the mech guy looked like he was out of like
Foam
Captain
rubber.
Power.
Yeah, it was real bad.
Captain Power.
I sure do.
Yeah, that's what he looked like. Like it was all of it was terrible.
Yeah, awful. Yeah. Yeah. So go watch it. It's on Paramount Plus. It's one of the worst things you'll ever sit through. It's crazy.
Don't watch it.
Because, everybody thought they're making a Section 31 movie. It's going to be all dark and gritty, but instead they kind of tried to make Guardians of the Galaxy. That's obviously the touchstone for this. It's so obviously the touchstone, and it just doesn't work at all.
Well, it's not funny.
No, it's not funny at all. No.
None of the characters
It's supposed to be, though. It's again and again supposed to be funny. There's like bits in it and jokes and stuff, but none of them work.
No. I did the bit where the phase fighting. I was like, this is an interesting idea.
Where did she get the phase thing from?
I don't know, but he's got one too. So
why did he have one too? I mean, it's like one of those things. Like, why this makes no sense? This is out of nowhere. This is dumb as hell.
Like I like when they're in the crowded room and just like fighting through people and stuff.
How come they're not falling through the whole space station?
Yeah, I did have a question about that. That was a little confusing, but like the concept of that was very cool.
Yeah, it was a nice concept. Yeah,
but yeah, it was terrible. It was really, really like I watched it this morning. I woke up and made breakfast and sat down to watch it, and that was a mistake. That was terrible.
Sorry about that, buddy.
A couple of days ago, I had put a thing on Blue Sky saying that the bit where Lorca is talking about how Elon Musk is a genius, is like one of the great minds, and I put that on Blue Sky, a screenshot of it, and saying like this is the definitive proof that Discovery is the worst Trek. And Jordan Hoffman, who loves Star Trek, responded to me. He was like, you haven't seen Section 31. I had to today respond to him saying, you're right. Like this was worse.
So, the one thing I will say about that line from Lorca is that it is revealed he's from the evil universe.
Yes, but he's not supposed to be talking about the evil universe stuff.
I know, but like you can kind of retcon it in your head that like in the evil universe, in the Terran Empire, Elon Musk is a great hero.
Sure, but you would think when he says that to everybody who's not in the evil universe, they'd be like, Elon Musk, he's a terrible person.
They may not even remember him in the 23rd century.
It's possible, I suppose.
That's the thing, you know what I mean? One last thing about this movie, it reveals that in the Terran Empire, in the Mirror Universe, they choose their emperor by having children fight to the death in an arena. It's the
Do they do
stupidest
the
idea
Hunger
of all.
Games?
So stupid. It's so
It's the
stupid.
Hunger Games. And also, if this is how they choose their emperor, why is her family shocked when she comes home and kills them?
The whole thing is
When they
stupid.
all know that's part of the deal?
The Mirror Universe doesn't make a lot of sense in a generalized way, but this especially doesn't make sense with how the Mirror Universe has been established. That they would allow a child to be the emperor because it killed a bunch of other children. No,
Yeah.
that's you become a captain of a starship by killing the captain. Like that's how you do it. Like you kill the person above you in the Mirror
Yeah.
Universe.
Yeah.
Oh, very frustrating.
Yeah, it
Anyway,
was terrible. It was.
any news this week?
I don't know, man.
It's-
Yes. Yes. Benedict Cumberbatch revealed that he is not in Doomsday, in Avengers Doomsday. He will not be in that, but he is in Secret Wars.
and that's a big change up, by the way.
Yes.
Because he was going to be a big part of the Kang Dynasty, which Doomsday is replacing. So they have truly gone to page one on that one.
Yes.
If they're pulling him out of it.
If you believe some rumors, they went to page one again last week. So
I wouldn't be surprised. It would. They'll be writing that movie through production.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm not even throwing shade. That's just how they do it.
That's how they've done it always, right? So
yeah.
We got our first look at Millie Alcock on the set of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Sort of.
Yeah, it's her back. It may not even be her. For all we know, it's her stand-in. Who knows? But we get
Tell us why that's interesting.
The set, from what we can see, looks very much like a set from the comic, where they go to a bar. So that's kind of exciting. That it looks like, it's hard to say because it's out of focus, the set, but it looks like they're trying to recreate the look of the comic, which
it
makes
does
me very
look
excited.
like that very, very much.
Yeah, and that makes me excited. And I'm going to use this moment. Actually, I'll wait until after the next one. And then finally, Ulrich Thompson has been cast as Sinestro in Lanterns. So
does this begin to raise some of our worries, take away some of our worries that this is going to not be Green Lantern-y? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to have... You just can't have Sinestro. I mean, it'd actually be funny to have Sinestro just sitting in a diner in the Midwest. That actually is very funny. I would like to see that. But
that actually just happened recently in the comics. Where,
did it?
Yes, the Green Lantern Corps, or the United Planets, like cut off Earth from everything, and Sinestro was on Earth, so he couldn't get off Earth, and he was just like, he goes and hangs out at a bar with Hal Jordan to try and get like Jordan to help him out, and like they fight in the bar, but he's also like, I just want to leave. like can you help me get out of here? And he's wearing like a hoodie and jeans. He's like, I hate these clothes. I don't like any of this. So yeah.
But so that's really hopeful, right? That's really hopeful. I think that that Sinestro's going to be in it, and then that also indicates they're thinking about the larger core.
Yes.
Right. I mean, so
yeah. That's exciting. This does lead into something I mentioned on Bad Batch that I wanted to talk about on Marvel Vision, an oncoming issue I see with the DCU and James Gunn. And it's not James Gunn's fault, but it is something he's going to have to fix, I think. More and more, everyone thinks James Gunn is doing everything for every project. So, like, the announcement of Lobo being in Supergirl, everyone's like, what music do you think Gunn will choose for Lobo? And it's like, well, it's not his movie, so he's not going to choose the music, or like, it's constant. Everything that's happening with the DCU,
right?
Everyone thinks Gunn is the director of it, right, and the writer of it, and the casting of it, and he's obviously involved in all those things. But it's a dangerous. I feel like they're headed down a dangerous path where everyone, the online people at least, believe that Gunn is controlling every aspect of every project. And that's not a good thing to have out there as you're trying to get people to make movies for you. And I also don't think it's true. I don't get that sense that Gunn is doing that.
Right.
But that's what people see or think.
Nobody has any idea how movies are made, and so they just are dumb, and they say dumb things on the internet about it. That's pretty much how it rolls, in my experience, having been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I get concerned.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? Especially like, what music will Gunn choose for Supergirl? And it's like none. It's Craig Gillespie is the director of the movie. He might make some suggestions, but I would imagine he's going to let Craig Gillespie choose the music for Supergirl.
Yeah, I would say that's probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah, but what are you going to do anyway? And that's it for news.
That is not it for news.
Yeah, it is.
No, it is not.
It's
Dario
well.
Scardapane, who is the showrunner on Daredevil, gave an interview where he pretty much acknowledged that Netflix Daredevil sucks ass. Do you want to hear? I'm going to read you the full quote.
Okay.
The earlier show, at its best, was fantastic. At its worst, it was two characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I felt that had been done. I'm not taking swipes. I just didn't want to hear characters grousing about their lot in life. I wanted to see them doing things. And he talks about when he was on The Punisher, because he worked on The Punisher show. He says, one of our edicts was to have longer scenes. So you had these long 5-page scenes of characters hashing it out in order to make space between these massive action sequences. The way stuff has evolved since then, we're able to do big action sequences at a lot better pace.
That's true.
And he says, I really feel that Netflix's Daredevil, which I know in my blood, was much more noir, and this show is more New York crime story. It has elements of The Sopranos and King of New York. There's a feeling for those classic 90s crime tales. It has a pace and a scope that, for a lot of reasons, Netflix wasn't able to do. They were very dark cinematically, not necessarily story-wise, although there were some dark elements. We're much darker.
Yeah, okay.
That's all good sounding, right? That's all the right things. That's
all
the right things.
I've been watching Daredevil. I'm 9 episodes into the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say every other scene, this is the basic conversation. You got to look out for those bad guys because they're smart. They're smarter than you. And then the other person says, I am looking out for the bad guys because I'm a good guy. And yeah, they are smart, but I'm tough. It's like every other scene. And it's
but it makes sense. Like when he says,
shut up.
When he says in that interview that the edict from Netflix was add a lot of talking scenes so that we could pace out the action scenes, that makes a lot of sense because there's a ton. Daredevil has so many scenes where nobody's doing anything. Yes. And it just fucking drags.
But here's the thing. You can have talking scenes that are interesting.
I mean, yes, you could. They didn't, though. They opted not to do that. They just like, we're not going to. They said we could, but we're not going to.
It's a very different type of show, but Peacemaker had a lot of talking scenes.
I know.
And they were interesting.
I think that the creators of Daredevil had made an artistic choice to make it not interesting.
Yeah. Penguin, lots of talking scenes.
Yeah, but they went a different direction. So I think we have to respect their artistic vision to make their show not very interesting at all. But anyway, Dario Scardapane saying all that stuff makes me really happy because he's 100% identifying a lot of the issues that you and I have with Daredevil. Yeah. And to talk about the idea that it's more of a crime story and less of a noir story, and also the idea that it has more scope, which was a big problem, I think, with Daredevil in Netflix, is that it was the hallway show.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. I'm really, really hopeful. I'm super hopeful. So, we'll know in a couple of weeks whether or not that hope is misplaced, but
soon enough.
There's also a rumor that I think is really interesting. That the Russo brothers are being tapped by Marvel to go on after these two Avengers movies and to oversee additional projects, including the X-Men.
No, thank you.
I'm actually okay with it. Yeah. I'm not saying directing. I don't think they're directing it, right? So the way that this makes it seem like it sounds like that they want to make these guys like creative execs over these things is what it sounds like. And the reason why I'm okay with this is because I had a chance to get to know the Russos a little bit. And this is very personal and very selfish. I had a chance to get to know them a little bit, and their point of reference for Marvel Comics is the same era that our reference of Marvel Comics is, i.e. they're not 90s and 00s X-Men guys.
Yeah.
So their vision of X-Men is Claremont.
Okay.
So with that in mind, somebody at the top whose vision is Claremont makes me a lot happier. Now, I'm not saying I want them directing it or writing it or any of that stuff, but when it comes to sort of creatively directing it, somebody whose touchstone is going to be the friendly, talky, soap opera Claremont stuff, yeah, that's what I want. That's 100% what I want. And those guys also, by the way, for whatever it's worth, do understand the value in bouncing these characters off of each other in ways other than fighting.
Yes,
And
that's
I
true.
think that's the thing that was missing from previous X films. And so, if that rumor is true, I'm okay with it.
My concern is more visual. I don't think the Russos are very visually exciting.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Which I think worked well for Winter Soldier. I think that worked very well because it's much more of a street level espionage spy movie, right? But then with like Civil War and the two Avengers movies, I don't think the Avengers movies were definitely better, but Civil War was really like this just does not look good. It just looks flat and
Yeah, but if
bland.
they're not directing these movies, I don't care about their visual style.
Yeah,
That's going to come down to who's directing them, right? That's the thing. So, again, the big thing with X-Men is that X-Men is so big that your approach is going to define a lot about what's happening with cinematic X-Men. And
yeah,
there are a lot of different approaches that could be taken to cinematic X-Men. We could go back to Stan and Jack. We could go back to the kids
but
in school. We can go back to Claremont. We could go to the 90s stuff where it's more
sure,
militarized.
sure.
And
But you're talking about story, but if they're overseeing the X-Men, then they're also going to be like having a hand in costumes and in the look of it. And I don't know that they I've not seen anything from them that makes me say, "Oh, they're going to make it look good."
But again, that's not their job. That actually isn't their job. Their job will be to oversee that, and like I'm sure Kevin Feige has like veto power over certain things when they come their way, but I know for a fact that the production does a lot of that work. It's not getting handed down from the top guys. So again, I'm talking about a producer role here. I'm not talking about a director role. I'm not talking about although they probably would be around a lot. Feige is around a lot, or used to be anyway. He's not as much anymore. But I don't think that they're going to have the Russos hiring some interesting director and then allow the Russos to say, no, make them wear black leather again. Like, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I don't believe that. So I think that, it's going to have a lot of different levels. But again, I think that the issue here is that it's the development angle that I'm concerned about. And that they are, for me, a good sign about where the development can go.
Yeah.
So, because I don't, I have, again, a very specific idea of what I want an X-Men movie to be, and it's never been done. And they are of our era. They, I would talk to those guys about the Korvac saga. Like, they read those comics, you know what I mean? Like, so that's their time. The 80s, that's their time.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hopeful about it. That's why I like it.
Well, we'll see.
That's my take. I mean, also, it might not be true.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It might not be true. Obviously, this is just a rumor. And obviously, very often in these rumors, stuff ends up being not true.
Yes.
There's another piece of news you didn't have, which is Natasha Lyonne spoke about Fantastic Four to Vanity Fair. And I'm not 100% sure what to make of this quote. So.
Well, no, I did read this, and that's exactly why I decided it was not news, because who knows what she said.
She said, I'm very moved they want me to be in that movie. It is all very interstellar type stuff coming at it from different directions. I'm also in the Smurfs movie, and actually some stuff does happen that's, I don't want to get into it because I'll get in trouble, but assuming that I'm dead by 8:45 p.m. tonight and they have to cut the movies together in a mashup, it will all marry well, I think. So I'm not really sure why the Smurfs and Fantastic Four movies.
Is there a crossover that happens?
It's kind of amazing that they could be mashed up together.
Yeah. I can't figure that out. So I was like, I'm not going to deal with that.
I have no idea what that
she's
means.
Talking about. I'm not sure she knows what she's talking about.
That is so incredible. That is an incredible quote. I just think it's amazing that she's like, I'm in the Smurfs also.
Yeah. People have taken it to mean that she's doing a voice role. That's the theory, which
that makes sense.
I think we already kind of figured that out, right? Like,
no, she was in London, so I'm not sure we figured that out.
I thought we had.
No,
I thought that was the theory.
That's right, a theory is different than figured it out.
Yeah.
Because I believe she went to London for a little while, so it's not clear. But that doesn't mean there isn't mocap.
Yes.
Because again, if she's playing Birdie for her character from What If, which is not impossible, and I know that we all roll our eyes.
Terrible idea.
I'm not saying it's not, but since this movie is going to be partially about the Fantastic Four changing realities and hopping into the 616, having a character who exists outside the multiverse as like a guardian of the multiverse show up at some point in that story makes a lot of sense.
I suppose. Yes, I suppose.
All right, we got any mail?
Before we get into mail,
Yeah.
I had a thought this weekend.
Uh-oh. That's
There's
always
new,
trouble.
There's a new Superman commercial.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, it's got like one quick bit of new footage, which
Mhm.
looked cool. Him spinning looked very cool. But it made me think, like watching is like, if Superman and Fantastic Four both underperform at the box office,
It's the end of this stuff.
that's the end of it all, right?
Yeah, it's all over. Yeah. It's
That's
finished.
it. Yeah.
It's done.
Marvel, I could see being like, if we can just get to X-Men. Because X-Men, we can make it feel different. We don't have to have any of these other characters pop up anymore. And now it's just the X-Men movies.
I mean, maybe,
Right.
and they're all in on Avengers. So I mean, that stuff's happening. They're all in on it.
I mean, there's going to be more movies after these, but it'll essentially be like, oh, the reign of the superhero is over.
That's going to be your big think piece that whole summer, is that it's all over. I will say, and I understand why it looks this way, but that scene where he's doing the barrel roll, he looks enormously fat. When he shot head on, he looks and I understand that just as a body contour and the way he's laying, I totally get it. Like I'm not, but it's funny to look at it and go, why is he swelling up like a beach ball? He looks enormously fat, and he's not. And it's just one of those things where I was like, oh, so yeah. But I think that
I thought it looked very cool. That's all I
thought that the barrel roll was cool, but again, as soon as he comes out of it and he's flying head on towards the camera, he looks fat. He got like a big super gut hanging out. I know it's not. It's his chest. I know it's not.
Yeah.
But like, it's just the way that, like, if you were drawing him, you would not draw his chest looking like that because it looks like a gut.
Well, if you were drawing him, you would not have him straight, right? Like, boo, like an arrow. Like
You might.
his arms would be out a bit, or like whatever.
Oh yeah.
To give proportionality and like dimension to him.
Right.
You know.
All right. Now, do we have listener mail?
Sure.
What do we got?
Dreamatorium asks, do you have a favorite memory going to the movies together? Did you ever have a favorite theater?
I have a favorite memory of us going to the movies together. It might be the same one as yours.
Oh yeah, what?
We went to go see the motion picture. I forget the name of it. It's the one we went. You and your little friend, and we went, I think, to the Fresh Meadows Theater. All of me. And we sat down, and they started playing Silent Night, Deadly Night instead of All of Me.
And my friend Jimmy freaked out.
Yeah. And you, Mom, and Jimmy all left, and I sat around and I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah. We went to Wendy's. Yeah. Jimmy was crying. I remember that.
That is one of the great movie going experiences of my whole life. Yes, that time. It's just so funny that fucking Silent Night, Deadly Night started up, man. Like, of all the fucking movies that could start, for a PG comedy, fucking Silent Night, Deadly Night, which opens, I think, pretty hard if I remember correctly. If I'm remembering.
Yes, that's why he started crying very quickly. It was because like there's all of a sudden blood and stuff everywhere, and he was like, "Whoa!" So, yeah, and unlike us, Jimmy was not just renting any movie he wanted to from, from Star Video.
Right.
So he was not prepared.
No.
like we were. So there you go.
Is that your answer?
A good one. No, mine was the premiere of Slither.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we went to the premiere of Slither.
And you had a great time afterwards.
Yeah. I had a wonderful time. I helped Nathan Fillion steal a poster from the party. Right. And
tell the story. Tell the story.
We were at the party, the post-premiere party, and it was late. Pretty much everyone had gone, and Nathan Fillion was staring at one of the posters for Slither that they had all around the place that the party was at. And I walked up, and he was staring at it. I'm looking at it, and he just says, "I don't have one of these." And I said, "Well, you should take one." And he's like, "I should." He's like, "Keep an eye out." And he walked up and grabbed it and just walked out of the place. And so if he still has that poster, I was his wingman on that.
There we go.
I helped him come up with that amazing scheme, that plan.
That's a pretty good one too. That's a pretty good one.
Michael Rooker punched me in the arm.
Nice.
But like playfully, not like a jerk way, but like, we were online waiting for drinks, and he turned around, he looked at me and punched me in the arm. He's like, "It's a good movie." That's what it is.
I had an uncomfortable interaction with Joss Whedon in the bathroom at that one.
Did you?
Yeah, because I had been writing shit about
Mm.
was it Serenity is the movie?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was mad about it. He had written a whole essay about what an asshole I was.
Well.
And but then we made up at Comic-Con a couple of years later. So
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good.
So anyway. All right, what's our next one?
I mean, you got to figure out that time he probably was like, Serenity was my last chance at making movies. And then it didn't do well, so he was probably upset about that.
Well, he was mad because I wrote a thing about how annoying Firefly fans were.
Yes.
Because they would come. This was a different era, and we didn't have social media back then. And they would go sign up for web forums, especially on movie sites and stuff, and they would just descend upon them like locusts, and they would just get into every thread and whatever you're talking about. Go, well, I think this is why you should watch Joss Whedon's Serenity when it comes out. You're like, shut the fuck up, you brown coat bastard! Get the fuck out of here.
It was very cultish.
It was really cultish, and that was like, I think, actually like a really interesting harbinger of what was to come in terms of like internet stan wars and stuff like that. They were kind of like blazing some ground over there.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, what do we got next? What's our next question?
I don't know. You're in charge of the questions.
This is from Rob O'Connor, who's in Ireland. It's a very long question, and I'm not good at reading aloud, so we're going to cut it down real quick. And plus he bolded a section, which I very much appreciate, because he's like, here you go, here's the question, essentially is what he said.
What's the rest of the thing? Is it him saying nice things about us?
No.
Oh, saying bad things about us?
No. Just like giving his thoughts on like the answer to the question, which I'll touch on as well. But he says, what do you think is the most casually racist comic book character out there? Someone like the Mandarin is blatantly racist, but for casual, he means like low key stereotyping. Him being in Ireland, it's Black Tom and his shillelagh and sitting on a crap throne in a castle, and then you got Banshee, of course. He points to Luke Cage is another one. So that's his question. Like, who would you say is like the most casually racist character?
That's tough because there's so many of them.
There really are.
It's just so many of them.
I mean, and amazingly, so many of them were created as like, look how diverse we are.
I mean, it's one of those. Yeah,
opening it up, and it's like, oh, you're not doing a good job.
It's one of those things where they were doing a thing. You know what I mean? They were opening up the gates, and it was a different era, and they understood things differently. And they were all white guys, who probably didn't have a lot of experience with other cultures and stuff like that, because they were all like Long Island guys and stuff. And so I think they were done with good intention. A lot of these.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say.
The comic we'll be discussing today.
Yes. One of my favorite is Thunderbird. Because they just killed him so fast. They killed him so fast in X-Men.
Yeah.
John Proudstar. And I kind of appreciate that they he literally died, I think, in their second mission, I think is when he died. So I kind of appreciate that somebody was like, I think we're in over our heads with this guy. Let's just kill him. But also because any Native American in comics pre like 2010 is always written like half Tonto, half the wisest guy you've ever met, like that. So like any native that is always written,
except for Wyatt Wingfoot wasn't written like that, right? As far as I can remember.
No, Wyatt Wingfoot was a little more of just like a guy. You're right. He was a little bit more of a guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why his last name is Wingfoot, which is a great last name. And then B, that he wasn't written in a stereotypical manner always like stuck out to me. Oh, yeah. Somebody's thinking.
Somebody's yawning. That was a big yawn from Gus over there on the bed. He's weighing in on the most racist cat in comics.
Yeah. That would be Felix.
Who's your most casually racist?
I don't know. I definitely. It's hard because the Claremont years of X-Men, again, which I imagine the Russos will be like, no, we can't do this in the movies. The way the characters talked and consistently felt the need to bring up their nationalities and stuff, a lot of that now, looking at it now, is like, this is weird. Like, this is a weird thing going on where like Storm, every time Storm speaks, she has to be like, I am Storm. I'm from Africa, but I was also born in New York, but I'm African. I'm Banshee and I'm Irish and I live in a castle with leprechauns. And it's like this was all of their conversations.
Did you
So
know
there was a lot of that.
Black Tom is now canonically gay?
I did not know that.
He's canonically gay with I think Juggernaut.
Really?
I think so, because they were
Wow.
like best buds back in the day.
They were buddies.
But it was like back then. It was like they lived in a castle together. Like it was like, okay, guys, they were roommates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So which one then out of that?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say because there are so many. You know, DC didn't really have that problem because DC just didn't have characters of different nationalities.
They were just mostly white. Yeah,
they were like,
they threw some in. They had to make
know.
them up for the Super Friends cartoon.
Weirdly, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Which maybe those are the most casually racist because it's like, I don't know, he's Asian. I guess he's a tsunami guy. like you know.
Apache Chief? Sure, why not?
Apache Chief? Sure. Does anybody know any native languages? No, we'll just have them say like a tongue chuk, and then that's it. That's good. Okay, fine.
There's probably some really casually racist Inuit characters that are just fucking everywhere in comics because
let's not forget Hal Jordan's sidekick.
But that's not casually racist. That's just racist.
But we're not sure it was because we can't figure out what the
face
name, where that came from.
Yeah, it's not quite clear.
Recently.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's not quite clear. I do think it's racist, though. I think that it
definitely was meant to be.
He's in the style of like Ebony from The Spirit, where he's like way cartoonier than the main characters, and that's racist in and of itself.
Yeah. Or Steamboat from Captain Marvel. The
Steamboat.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah. There's a lot. I think Luke Cage is a really good one. I think what's really interesting is when there's a character like that. So Luke Cage is a very interesting version because they wanted to do black characters. Blaxploitation was very hot. So that's what they went for.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's all white guys that go to see blaxploitation movies, which are very often written by white guys and directed by white guys. So it's sort of like a closed loop of this is how black people talk.
Yeah.
And then so Luke Cage starts talking like that, sweet Christmas, these honky suckers over here. And so stuff like that. But then over time, that character got reclaimed because it turns out he was a good character. Like aside from the casual racist trappings, he's a good character. Like there's a lot in there.
He's a good character and he's got a great origin, right? That he was imprisoned and then they experimented on him in prison and like all that stuff. Like that's a very interesting origin.
And I read a really fascinating thing, which is that his power is the most evocative power for black audiences. He's bulletproof.
Yes.
And in an America where getting shot by cops is one of the top concerns for black males, having a bulletproof black guy is meaningful, heavily meaningful. Yeah. So I think that's one of those ones like, and I think Shang-Chi's another one too. Like they were like, okay, karate movies are hot. Let's do a karate guy. And your eyes are hurting you today, huh?
No, my belt is. I had to loosen my belt a bit.
I can see your eyes closing all the time. That's the thing about the fucking camera now. I see you like you're blinking and your eyes closing all the time. And I'm very concerned about your eye hygiene. You putting drops in there?
My eyes are fine. My eyes are great.
Okay, they look a little red over here in 4K.
I just want you before you said you couldn't tell any difference between cameras.
I can't. So anyway, Shang-Chi's another example, though, was a character. It's a really good character. There was a lot of really good stuff in there. Obviously, his dad being Fu Manchu is a real issue. But like, I think you can rescue that. And there's a really interesting thing in there. So I think that's what I think some of the 70s and 80s casually racist characters can be saved. As opposed to like a pie face who just is like, you got to get rid of this guy. You can't.
And I mean, it's definitely a casual racism where so many characters were Black Panther, Black Lightning,
right?
Black Goliath. Like that one might be my favorite because it doesn't like for Black Panther. Okay, that works, I guess. Black Lightning, kind of weird, but it's a good name. Black Goliath is essentially saying we already have a Goliath and we need to be able to tell them apart. He's black. And that's how they go about that, right? So it's like, You know,
I
why
mean, I
not
guess
white Goliath?
it's better than N-word Goliath,
Yes.
which they were maybe thinking about going with at that time. You never know.
Well,
Remember,
I hope not.
Kitty Pryde, a big fan of dropping the N-bomb.
Yes, very racist, Kitty Pryde.
Kitty Pryde constantly dropping the N-bomb in old X-Men comics.
I always think of that Saturday Night Live sketch for, I think it's the Death of Superman sketch, where Sinbad is there as Black Lightning.
Yeah.
And somebody, it's Aquaman calls him like Black Lightning. He's like, I've told you a million times, my name is just Lightning. I just want to be called Lightning. Nobody runs around calling you White Fish. And it's like, I've always loved that joke that his superhero name is Lightning, but all the Justice League just keep calling him Black Lightning.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. What is our last question of the night?
Our last question of the night is, as a millennial, this is from Jordan. As a millennial listener, I'm wondering if you can explain the Love Boat. I'm always utterly confounded by your discussions on it on air and would like to better understand this vital piece of Gen X culture.
So The Love Boat is a show that ran for a very long time on, I think, ABC, and then ran in reruns also. And it was on for so long, there were like reruns in syndication while it was still on.
Yeah.
And The Love Boat was a semi-anthology show where every week a new group of passengers would board the Pacific Princess, which is headed by Captain Stubing and his able-bodied crew.
I can't believe you know the name of the shit.
Of course, the Pacific Princess, she still sails. You can still sail on the Pacific Princess today.
Can you?
Yeah, it's a real ship.
We have to create like a Patreon level for that. Like, if enough people pay into like the $100 Patreon level, we'll go on the Pacific Princess.
If we ever do our Love Boat show, that would be it. But what happens is that every week, a new group of passengers would come on, and they would all be guest stars, and most of them would be like kind of modestly to well-known guest stars from TV, movies, etc. And there would be 3 different stories. And each of the stories was a romance story. It was often a comedy romance or a crime romance, a tragic romance, all these but everyone would be different. So it'd be like 3 so you'd have one comedy, one crime, one tragedy. You'd have like one really serious one about a kid who's like on life support. And then you'd have one that was about a guy who can't stop farting or something like that.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Why are they taking a kid on life support?
I'm just going with the boy in the bubble. That's not actually an episode.
I would not be surprised if it is an episode, to be honest.
And our main cast of characters, who include the Doctor, who is a weird looking guy who fucks every woman that comes on the ship. It's a very strange trope on the show. There's Gopher, and he became a U.S. congressman later on. He was very Republican.
In real life. To be very clear, in real life, not on the show.
Not on the show, Fred Grandy. There's Isaac, the bartender. And there's Julie, who's in charge of activities.
And she's Captain Stubing's daughter, right?
No, Captain Stubing's daughter comes later.
Okay.
And then somebody else takes over for Julie, and then they bring other people on too. And the main characters will dip in and out of the stories, out of the romance stories, and then sometimes the romance stories will come together like towards the middle. There'll be like a dinner or something like that where everybody will be in the same room and the camera will like cut from table to table. And then at the end of the episode, everybody's stories are all wrapped up. Everything's worked out, and we have a scene of them all getting off the Pacific Princess where Captain Stubing, like the crypt keeper of the high seas, is like, and how did your story go this week? And everybody's like, well, Captain Stubing, we finally figured out how to make him stop farting. And then it's like, well, Captain Stubing, while we were at that island, we got the boy off the life support. And then we left him there. He's dead now. No, they would have some tragic ones, but not that. But it was like a lot of what's really great about it is a lot of guest stars, and they were all not all of them, but many of them were pretty well-known guest stars.
Yeah.
And every episode would open with the theme written by Paul Williams, the great Paul Williams, who did the Muppet movie and Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah. And it would have these portholes on screen, and the guest stars' faces would appear in the portholes in alphabetical order. And one of the great joys of my life is watching the opening credits of A Love Boat and being excited by one of the guest stars. Like, oh my God, Anne Margaret's in this one. Like, it's very cool. So it's really schlocky. It's like super schlocky, and that's the kind of stuff that we grew up on. Like, we grew up on a lot of really schlocky 60s and 70s stuff that was like hyper mainstream. But there's like an episode of Love Boat that's about a trans woman.
That I was about to bring that up, because that is the last time I watched Love Boat was when I was in LA, and I was at your place, and we were watching Love Boat, and it was Gopher's friend was transgender, and it was his
high school buddy who became a woman.
Buddy. Yeah. and him learning to accept it.
Yep.
And like how, the times they are not a changing.
No, they are changing. They're going the other way. They're going the other way.
I guess now we're going reverse. Yeah.
No. So they would have stuff like that too. But it's just like a really fun show. You could watch it on Pluto. Pluto sometimes has a Love Boat channel that just plays Love Boat. It's like a really good like background show. It's like a really good like soothing show. All the colors are like a little pastel-y and muted. And there's a lot of people in like very tiny bikinis because in the 70s, shit was real different on television. You just see like balls hanging out of bikinis and boobs. It's crazy how much skin is on this show. And this is like a fucking 8:00 family show.
Yeah.
And the characters are wearing nothing. And they're all on a fucking soundstage in Burbank. It's not even like, not really on a boat. Yeah. Also, it's fun to watch them when they stand in front of the green screen. Like they're supposed to be like on the ship's deck and there's like the ocean behind them and it's green screen. Later on, as the show went on season after season after season, they began doing international adventures. And they would actually go to other countries and film like long Love Boat storylines or movies at these locations. Yeah.
There you go.
Those are not as good. Honestly, like the original run of like one and dones is like the ideal way to watch the Love Boat. Like have 3 stories, one of which you think is stupid as shit, but just as you're getting irritated by it, it flops over to the guy who's cheating at cards. Like, and then you're like, okay, I like this guy. And it's, it's Red Skelton who's cheating at cards this week. It's like, so that's, as you could tell, I get very excited about the Love Boat.
I mean, you've mentioned the idea of doing a Love Boat podcast many times.
I just think it's so great because the show has all of these guest stars. And so a Love Boat podcast would not be about the show per se. We'll talk about it because the show's often very stupid and very funny.
Yeah.
But you would have the opportunity to talk about some of these guest stars, like who and their careers and stuff. And it's kind of cool. Like it's a real we don't have anything like that now.
No.
Like, there's no thing like that. Where like every week it's somebody else who was famous in like 1992 comes on a thing. Tiffany Thiessen, did she murder somebody this week? That's like the vibe of what the Love Boat is.
Yeah. Yeah. They would have like a special, if it was today, they would have a special episode where like all the new kids on the block show up on it, right? Like that would be the deal.
There's an episode where Andy Warhol's on it as Andy Warhol.
There you go.
Andy Warhol was a big fan of the Love Boat.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Andy Warhol sucks. It is crazy how bad he is on this show. He is terrible. It's unreal.
What if that's what led to his being shot?
He had been shot by this point.
Oh, okay.
Now this is late in the very late in the run. They had Andy Warhol on, and half the people on the boat were like, "I don't even know who that guy is," and they're like, "Oh, I could paint like that." Like a lot of that kind of stuff, a lot of those kinds of jokes, like pretty great. Like but he's fucking awful. I loved it. I loved every minute of that one.
It used to be like a whole genre because that's also what was the island one? Fantasy Island.
Fantasy Island, yeah.
It was the same kind of deal.
Yeah, every episode, a group of different guest stars would come to Fantasy Island and they would live out these fantasies. Fantasy Island was more genre because it was magical, but also sometimes they would discover that their fantasies would teach them a lesson about what they actually wanted, and it would not be what they thought they wanted to learn. Yeah. Stuff like that. Also, that had Villachez as Tattoo.
Yes.
The dwarf whose famous catch plane, deplane, it unlocks a special pleasure center in the brain of all Gen X. Yes. If you ever see a bunch of middle-aged white guys hanging out, go, deplane, and I guarantee they'll all get very excited.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I think it's Hervé. I think it's Hervé. I think I said Hervé. I think his name is Hervé Villachez, I think is how you pronounce it. He was apparently a wicked drunk.
Apparently, yeah. There's a whole movie about him.
Yeah, but what a beast he was.
Yeah. They never had a crossover, Fantasy Island and Love Boat. Kind of shocking.
Did they not?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but that would make sense if the Love Boat docked.
They might have been on different networks. I don't know.
I think they're both on ABC. If the Love Boat docked at Fantasy Island, that would make a lot of sense. They did a Love Boat reality show a couple of years ago.
Did they?
Yeah, but it came and went real fast.
Well, it's not going to be as good because it's not written, so it's not.
That's the thing. Stories. Yeah, it doesn't have the weird stories. Yeah. And the thing is that once they're like on season 12, they're doing 3 stories a week. They are fucking. And these are 28 episode seasons.
Yeah.
They are fucking desperate for stories when they get to season 12, my man.
they should bring back the Love Boat and do the same kind of thing. And but now it'd be like this week, it's like David Sedaris and I don't know who else you would get at that point. David Sedaris, Joey from Friends, and I don't know.
There's a
Steven
new
Singer, right?
show. There's a new show called Dr. Odyssey that I keep meaning to watch. That's on ABC,
But
and that's
it
a
doesn't
boat
have like
doctor.
cool guest stars, right? Like,
It has guest stars every week because it's an episodic show,
okay,
and so I don't know. They've had like some cool guest stars, but that isn't baked into the premise.
okay,
But it's like an episodic romantic action boat show, cruise ship show. I'm like, okay, that sounds 100% on my fucking. There's an episode where they get stuck on an island with John Aston, who obviously from the Addams Family, and he's a shipwreck survivor who's gone crazy, and he holds them hostage. And it's one of the better episodes. It's pretty
there
good.
you go.
Yeah, John Aston, he's got a beard down to his knees, threatening to shoot Captain Steubing.
So
Captain
he was
Merle
already on the
Steubing.
island.
No, he was there. Our characters ended up there.
Okay.
Captain Merle Steubing. Merrill. Sorry, Merrill Steubing is his name.
Okay.
And then I watched The Love Boat. Merrill Steubing is the captain. He's bald, but like what little hair he has, like that little Benedict monk thing.
Yeah.
And it's white, and he's the captain. And they were talking, and they go something. And he goes, as a 42-year-old man, I was like, get the fuck out of here. I cannot accept that I'm like 10 years older than Captain Steubing now.
And yet still look younger.
I know, somehow.
Because that's the other thing is when you watch these shows and you realize like he's like, I'm 42, and you're like, I thought he was in his 60s at least.
100%,
like,
yeah.
People in the 70s in the 70s and 80s did not age well.
They smoked indoors.
And nobody had figured out that you should drink water.
Yeah.
Like it really is amazing that at some point in like the mid 90s, everyone's like, we should drink water. We should be hydrated. It's probably a good thing to do. And it turns out, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's very healthy for you. So there you go. That's an answer. That's a very detailed
Sorry, that
answer.
was a little long. I apologize.
No, it's great. It's great.
I get excited. I get excited about The Love Boat.
Yeah.
I used to make poor Brittany watch The Love Boat with me.
I almost teamed this up with a question about Quantum Leap because then I would have to go off.
That's your 20 minutes.
But I was like, that's going to be too long if we do both of them at once. So
okay. So next week,
I'm saving Quantum Leap for another time.
Okay.
Because I also have to think about it. It's a very deep question about Quantum Leap.
See, you get time to think about it. I get these things sprung on me in the moment.
Hey, man, you can look at the emails too. Nobody's stopping you.
I do have access to that?
I believe so.
I don't know how.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't.
I don't have the login for that. It's a different account.
I thought I gave it to you.
No.
All right. Well,
exactly. All right. You ready to talk about the first appearance of the Falcon in Captain America number 118?
Yes.
All right. Let's do it. Captain America, Volume 1, number 118, The Falcon Fights On. Written by Stan Lee and with art by Gene Colan and Joe Sinnott.
Yeah.
Joe Sinnott.
I think it's Sinnott.
Joe Sinnott. Godsend. Is it God's End or Godsend? That's a running gag Star Trek movie.
Here, start that.
So
that is the one time they let Sam Richardson be funny. It's like throughout that, but it's at the end was like, oh, I hear it now, and it's like the way he delivers the line works. But like, God, that was terrible.
We have our splash page is Captain America's head floating over the jungle as the exiles make their way through it. Our ragtag bunch of World War II war criminals. And we cut back to Captain America, who is the Red Skull, looking at them through the cosmic cube.
Yes.
And they are like, what the fuck? He's like, what the fuck? How are these idiots not killed? He's put Captain America in the Red Skull's body. And he said, how are these idiots not killed the fucking Red Skull yet? Why haven't they killed him? And then he goes, oh, wait. What if Captain America took off my Red Skull mask? Which follows from that last issue where it's like, he's got a fucking mask on and Captain America didn't think to take it off for days.
Nope. Also, something I greatly appreciate about this is Red Skull gets angry. He's in like the hotel room from last week.
Yeah.
Or last issue. And he gets angry and he kicks like a table and he breaks it. And then he's on the ground picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem very Red Scully to me.
Well, I like the way that Gene draws Cap all hunched over. That's like a little
Yes.
Gollum position. That's a villain position.
That's a villain position, which I do like that. But I don't buy the idea that Red Skull would be like, "Oh, I gotta clean this up."
Maybe he's going to
Like,
keep banging them on the floor.
maybe.
Because he's having a little fucking rage thing, and then he goes, "Oh shit! What if he took off his mask?" Which
Yeah.
is like so funny that like the Red Skull who's become God. By the way, he is God right now because he has the cosmic cube.
The cosmic cube, yeah.
He does that. And
he also, by the way, says that it's a red jumpsuit again.
He does say it again, red jumpsuit, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I checked original pages online. He's wearing green in the original comic.
Incredible.
Too. Yeah, it's not the recoloring that did it.
So nobody bothered to double check that the dialogue and the coloring matched. It's so good. That's so
for 2 issues. Like, not a one mistake. This is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, somebody's like, Stan, we got this back from the printer. It turns out that you had the wrong dialogue.
And you said you read the issues leading up to this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
At any point, was Red Skull wearing a red suit?
No.
What the hell? I've never seen him in red. I
don't know. It's really weird. So the Red Skull's like, I can kill everybody with this cosmic cube, but you know what? That would end the comic far too soon. So I'm going to let them just keep going, which I think is a really funny little bit of villain stuff. And back on the island, the exiles see Red Wing, who is the Falcon's bird.
He also, by the way, I'm sorry, I think it's in this bit where he says that there's no way to get off the island. Yeah, there's no way off the island. But we know that Sam traveled to the island because the exiles put a thing in the wanteds, looking for a falcon hunter.
Maybe
I'm very confused by.
Maybe they sank Sam's boat when it got there.
Well, later on we see a boat in the background, like when they're on the beach. And I was like, "There's a boat right there." Like, it's clearly like the villagers, their boat that they use for fishing. And it's like, what is going on? Like, why can't they get off this island? How did they call up somebody and be like, we want to place an ad in the paper, and not be like, can you get us off this island? We're trapped on an island.
Can you send a boat? Yeah. So the bird is flying over. They recognize him as the bird that fucked with them last time when they were fighting Red Skull. And then Chang pulls out his gun and says, the accursed bird will bother us no more. That's how I feel in the morning when the birds wake me up and they're chirping out the window. These accursed birds. He shoots at Red Wing and it misses, but I like this bit here where the echo, the gunfire echoes over the hills and comes to Sam's ears. I fucking love that panel.
Oh, I thought it was you missed him, you bungler.
No, that's what he says. But no, it's where the cracks come over and it's this like winding. It's such a nobody does cool stuff like that. No. And it's like great because it tells you this is an echo coming over the hill. Like that's exactly what this is. It visually tells you that, and you can hear it in your head better that way, I think.
Yeah.
And
and I like that the sound goes off panel and back in, I appreciate that.
So Sam realizes somebody's shooting at Red Wing, and it's Captain America calls Chang Ching because well, it's just one of those things. Stan was paying no attention. Stan was
or he's trying to say like Captain America's racist.
I think that maybe it's just that Stan was paying no attention. He was just fucking dashing this one out, like really just dashing this one out.
Green, Chang, Ching, whatever.
So he says only Ching has a gun and he can't hit a hawk. And then Red Wing shows up and Cap says, "That's a great bird, fella." Fella. This is where Sam last issue I thought was written pretty okay, but now he has a great line here. He goes, "Here I am, Sam Wilson from the swinging slums of Harlem, USA."
There is a line.
The swinging slums.
There is a line in the Woody Allen film Melinda and Melinda, where it's I forgot who the actor is, but it's a black actor who says something very similar, where it's like clearly like Woody Allen has not talked to a black person in 30 years. Because he says something very similar where he's like, that's right, I'm blah, blah, blah. And I would almost swear he says from the swinging slums of Harlem, USA. Because he says something very similar. I remember watching that movie when it came out and being like, oh, Woody, no. Not the worst thing Woody's ever done, apparently. But
so they go back to a hut, and then we have a panel that is so gay that I legitimately can't believe it's not on purpose.
I
There's
am
no way it's not on
unsure.
purpose.
I am unsure why Captain America is taking his shirt off.
I don't know why Sam is laying down.
I don't know why Sam's laying down.
Topless Sam Wilson is laying down with his hands behind his head, and Captain America's taking his shirt off
And he's saying, we've got some training to do.
And he's like, get into your costume. Why is Sam laying in bed? It's so wild. It is
Very
such
unsettling.
a wild panel.
Very
I mean, it's not
unsettling.
unsettling. These men are very close. So, I mean, like, if that's the deal, I really respect it. But boy, this is...
I don't know. There's something very weird about it.
No, it's super...
I think part of it is that they also just keep calling each other Mr. and Fella and Pal.
Well, also the fact that the next page, Cap's still wearing a shirt. So he's got his shirt back on.
Yes.
What is
so
even
I guess the
happening?
question is, what was Gene Colan thinking? Like, what was...
Yeah,
we know they didn't have full scripts, that they were doing it the Marvel way.
What was he? Yeah, does he think that they're gonna like have a quick bone down to like the Spartans used to do to get like more like together as a unit, more cohesive?
Yeah. I don't know.
And then there's also a panel the next page where Cap says, "Harder, don't pull back." Really? Come on, man. Oh man. And so they're training on the beach. Falcon says, "How'd you ever become such a one-man army?" And Cap says, "Never mind about that, friend." And we have Stan just filling panels with nonsense, just nonsense. Notice how I swing my hip, like that kind of stuff. Like this is the stuff I imagine Stan sits in front of a typewriter and just like automatically writes.
Yeah,
like, there's like no thought to this at all.
No. And also, again, the end of this page 6, the final panel, again, very homoerotic. They're on the beach.
Yeah, no, and the camera's pulling.
The camera's back. The waves are coming in. Cap is on top of Sam, and he's like, "Hey, with a teacher like you, I'll be the greatest."
The whole page is the camera pulling back. It begins really tight on Cap's foot, and then it pulls back to the two of them. Then it keeps pulling back until finally that last panel where Cap's on top. It is pulling back behind the trees, like the camera is going to give them a little bit of privacy.
Yep.
Man, this is a crazy comic book. And then we have a splash page with a bunch of images of the two of them training and fighting and talking about training and fighting.
My favorite is the image of Sam punching Cap in the face, and Cap is smiling.
Yeah.
He's really into it.
Cap has a great line. He goes, "That's it. You're a natural for karate." So they have like one afternoon training on the beach, and Sam learns karate.
Well, not only that, Cap says, "I've taught you everything I know." Really, Cap? You went... Really? That's all it takes? One day? That's crazy. That's insane.
Back in New York, Red Skull is sleeping in the hotel and the phone rings.
He's trying to sleep, but he's clearly having trouble because he is talking a lot.
Yeah, I don't know why Stan put dialogue on this, because he's obviously asleep in that panel. Like, I don't understand why he put dialogue on this.
I don't know.
It's so funny. And the phone rings. He's talking about how he could just disintegrate the Exiles and Captain America with a thought because he's God now. But he goes, why not? Why would I do that? And the phone rings and he gets real mad about it. And it's the desk downstairs. Again, this is a really good example of how the Marvel method can sometimes not really work, because here we have 3 panels. One is Cap sleeping. One is the phone ringing. One is Cap picking up the phone. That's too much for this one action.
Yeah.
And so Stan just fills it with the Red Skull monologuing to himself about answering the phone. Like, it is like really funny, because obviously, Gene had no script to work from.
No.
No. But it's the downstairs desk, and they have all of the fans are there, and they are trying to get up to Captain America's room. And Cap's like, "I hate these fucking kids. Because they get rid of them, make them leave." He calls them a shouting, jostling, mindless rabble. But downstairs, the kids, they're full of Captain America fever. And they steal the extra key to Captain America's room. And now they know what room he's in, 506. So they go upstairs. And so Cap is like, "Great, this is perfect. I'm going to ruin Captain America's," or Skull Cap says, "I'm going to ruin Captain America's reputation. As soon as they open the door, I'm going to use the cosmic cube to hurl them back and injure as many as I can." And then he goes, "But they know that Captain America doesn't have any superpowers. That wouldn't make any sense." Which I'm just like, just hit him.
Yeah, your camera just punch a kid.
Also, you're Red Skull. You're Red Skull in Captain America's body.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
One of these
If you're
kids,
in Captain America's body, just punch one of these kids. They'll be like, hit him with the shield. Be like, oh.
Instead, he uses the cube to teleport across the hallway. Such a waste of energy.
And he's like, fuck off.
He says, "I hate you." He says, "I hate you."
Yeah. I love it because he comes out of like a door and like, how'd you get? One of the kids like, how'd you get down there? He's like, fuck you. It's so amazing to me that this is the Red Skull's plan.
Tell kids, fuck you. You were lost. You crashed out fully.
This whole reading this today, I was like, all right, so there's like a Beatlemania happening for Captain America. Oh, there's so many kids. There's so many like teenagers in this lobby and stuff. And the Red Skull's like, I can beat the crap out of him. No, I've got a better idea. Opens the door, goes, fuck you. It's amazing. Oh, eat shit.
And then we have.
And then he just jumps over a car.
We have a whole page of Captain America running away from the kids. Who want an autograph.
Oh my God.
We then cut across town to good old Rick Jones, who is sad because he thinks Captain America hates him now because the Red Skull's in Captain America's body. And we see Rick Jones tear up his autographed Captain America picture.
I love it. It says, to my sidekick, Rick, Cap. Oh.
What does he put it in?
What do you mean?
He drops it in a thing, and then he's hanging on the thing, isn't he? Or is he just hanging on like? What is he hanging on?
I don't know where he is because it's like he seems to be in like a lab of some sort. There seems to be like computer equipment all over the place.
I don't think he's at his
apartment or anything.
I can't figure it out.
But he starts crying.
Yeah, that's
yeah. And then we learn the same month, Captain Marvel number 17, big things happen to Rick Jones. I think we know what that is.
Yeah, and this is the episode that's the issue where Rick Jones and Captain Marvel become connected through the negabands.
Yeah. And
they swap places. So, it's like the Marvel Universe is just the story of all of these guys grooming Rick Jones. It's been going on from the beginning because Incredible Hulk number 1.
Yeah.
They're all just grooming Rick Jones. And his life is a disaster now. Like he's like a poor musician. Like he hasn't been able to make a living out of all this stuff.
Which is crazy because he would definitely be able to write books and stuff about all this.
I mean, maybe he can't write.
Maybe. The same thing with Snapper Carr, though. Snapper Carr's entire life was destroyed.
Yep.
But to be fair, Snapper Carr did allow the Joker into the Justice League headquarters.
I mean, that is not great.
So that's why they kicked him out, because they were like, well, you're an idiot. You
that
snap your fingers all the time, and you allowed the Joker into our headquarters and almost destroyed everything. And then he got powers where when he snapped his fingers, he could create like teleport or something. I can't remember what his power was. And then he was Android Hourman's roommate for a while.
We then cut to AIM headquarters, and they are talking again. We saw them last issue. They made the Cosmic Cube, and it's been stolen. They have to make sure that it can be destroyed, and so they have to create a thing. And this is perhaps the greatest comic panel of all time. If you just take it all by itself, and it says, "We've done it. The block is now round."
I was like, "What does that mean?" What's great is he says that, and then the next page is. But to rescue our tale from such total confusion. So even Lee doesn't know what that means.
No idea.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I don't know what the fuck Gene put over here.
I don't know what Gene was doing.
And so Falcon and Captain America see the exiles coming on the beach, and they rush into action. Cap still has no shoes.
Oh, he doesn't. Look at that.
No. There's like a real Robinson Crusoe thing happening here.
Yeah.
And Falcon's his man Friday kind of, which is racist in and of itself. But that I think is kind of the vibe that like they're probably playing with here.
Sure.
And Sam Wilson jumps out of the jungle and knocks the man in a wheelchair over.
Instantly.
His
First
first
guy he
move.
goes for.
That's pretty smart though. Like if you got a guy in a wheelchair with a murder chair, you want to knock it over. I
You
think
get
that's your
that taken
first.
care of. Yeah.
And so we now have a whole fight sequence. Only one guy is carrying a gun, and Sam disarms him very quickly. But there's Iron Fist guy or Steel Fist, and my favorite part here is that he grabs Cap by the face to hold him to like kill him with his Steel Fist. And Cap's thought is, my disguise, I hope he's not going to peel it off. And his disguise is made out of clay he got off the ground. It's crazy to me that it's still on his face, A, that it doesn't look like dried shit on his face right now.
All this is wild.
It's just totally nuts. Again, this is straight up a comic book written by people who kind of were not paying a tremendous amount of attention to what they were doing and maybe assumed you weren't either.
Yes. I mean, they're writing these for kids.
No, but not at this point, though. The thing is, at this point, this is the era of Marvel where if you read the letters page, it's like, and then Cap is wearing this disguise for 3 days? What are you trying to do to us, Stan? Like, they'll write letters like that. So, like, they're older readers now.
I mean, this is 69, I think, is when this came out. Something like that. Like, late 60s, early 70s.
But that's when Marvel was big on college campuses.
No, but it's also when Stan Lee was just phoning it in.
Well, he's 100% phoning in it. That's part of the deal here. 100%.
He's doing his campus tours.
Yeah.
And that's what he's more interested in.
He's getting applause. That's what he wants. Yeah.
I think has he moved to LA at this point? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. Not yet. But later on in the 70s.
Yeah. He's more interested in doing like the tour stuff. And he's just kind of phoning this stuff in. This is when like he finds out at one of these tours at a college campus that they killed Gwen Stacy. He had no idea, right? Like he has no clue what's going on anymore. He doesn't care. And he's just, I guarantee, he could have called Gene and been like, Gene, what were you thinking about with the AIM thing where they're making a ball? And no, instead he's like, I don't know. It's confusing. And he wrote that into the script.
The cube is now a ball. Cap beats up the steel hand guy, but the guy with the scarf takes him out.
The guy with the scarf, by the way, let's pay attention. He's the bald one. What's his name?
Baldini, baby. Baldini. Oh, we're really doing it here. But Sam saves Cap from the scarf. Sam manages to dodge the whip guy. Very surprised we don't have racial dialogue here.
I really thought there was going to be.
I honestly did too. I really thought this was going to be like a late 60s, early 70s social justice movement. Like where I come from, we don't take to white guys cracking whips at us or whatever. Like, I mean, like I really thought that was going to be the deal, but I guess that is just not the situation. Red Wing gets the whip guy and bites the guy's whip in half, which means it cannot be that good a whip, frankly.
Which also, I don't think he bites it in half. I think he just pulls it and it breaks. And then the guy's like, because Red Wing, right. It's not. Red Wing's holding it front, like, and there's like parts coming out of both sides of Red Wing's beak. And that's right. Like, he bit it in half. I think it's just a weak ass whip.
I think it is. Yeah. The murder chair gets back up, and things are looking rough. But then at that last minute,
he's the deadliest of them all.
I don't understand the art decision here. Even not working from a script, I don't understand the art decision here because all of a sudden rocks begin hitting the murder chair guy. And we realize that the last two panels, actually the whole page, once again, if you look at each panel, we realize that we're pulling out
to the cube
to show the cube. But the problem is the reveal that the Islanders, who last issue we were told could not be roused to fight back, are now fighting back. Looks like Cap is looking at a photograph in his hand.
Yes.
It is not a good artistic choice.
No.
And I don't know what the thought process is here.
Not a clue.
Like, I think there's other ways to do this. I mean, did Gene just fall in love with that concept and just stuck with it? Like, I love when the camera pulls back and reveals that we're watching it through the cube.
Yeah.
But this is just a bad reveal because it just has no impact. Like, a lot of these pages have impact. He has high impact action on a lot of these, those splash pages especially. So I was very disappointed by that.
Not his best work.
No, not the best work. And it's just crazy. It really does look like Cap is watching his iPhone.
It does.
And he's like, wow, I have to sit through this commercial, huh?
Down to in one panel, he can see his own reflection. He's like, oh my God, that's what I look like.
And then Red Skull, who's in Cap's body, we don't even know where he is right now. He's just pissed off about this. He goes, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna kill these fucking guys myself." And this is a very funny image where Falcon says, "All of a sudden, I feel strangely menaced."
What I love about it is that Cap is clutching the top of his shirt, like, woo, like you would have like women do in like 1950s movies when like
100%.
feel
Yeah, it's
threatened, like,
very
oh,
funny.
like, yeah.
And then this will be concluded next issue, Shock After Shock, which we are not going to be reading here on the podcast. I don't think we need to. No, I don't. We're going to have Spider-Man next week.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, if you want to read it to finish it up, we could talk about it in the intro.
It's got a great cover.
It has a great cover. I feel like this is a 3-part story that does not need to be 3 parts by any measure.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing happening in it. It's just them keep fighting these guys on the beach again and again and again. And it really is a deeply phoned in comic. Like, deeply phoned in.
I will say, I'm looking at the next issue, and the first page is a splash page of Red Skull in Captain America's body rubbing his butt on the shield. So let's keep that in mind.
That is what's happening. He's rubbing his ass on the shield. Woo! He's getting his stink on it. What the fuck is Gene Colan up to, man? What the fuck is he up to? This is crazy stuff. So, okay, we'll talk about it in the intro next week, because I think this is the end of the storyline. But yeah, it really has a lot of feeling. It's funny because I expected more out of Falcon. They keep his Red Wing stuff so vague.
Yeah.
It's just a bird that likes him.
Yeah. He does say at one point during the training that, like, he's already a good fighter because of all the times he had to fight gangs.
Yes. Yes, which is a little bit of our racial language here in this comic. Although, again, it's not as bad as it could be because he is some swinging slums of Harlem, and it isn't like, yo, jive turkey. Like, there's not like that kind of stuff, like, which is always a danger in this era of comics. Always a significant danger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was halfway through this comic, I was like, why is this story still going? I was like, I don't understand. Like, the Red Skull keeps saying I could kill them right now, but I'm just not gonna. Yeah. Although that stuff with the kids in the hallway is probably one of the highlights of my week. Him saying "fuck you" to the kids in the hallway. It's just so
great. I love it. Like, hey, get out of that door. It's like, that's his plan. It's like, oh, just teleport across the hotel, I guess, the hallway.
It's so weird.
What is he doing?
Oh, all right. That's this issue. We're going to be back next week with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, first 2 episodes. Or maybe 3. They're doing 3, maybe, I think.
Are they? I know they're doing the entire season in 4 weeks.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of work. We got a lot of work ahead of us.
Well, there you go. Hopefully it's good.
God, please. If it's 3 episodes a week and it's not good, I'm going to have a really fucking hard time with this.
If I got to do that and I'm watching Daredevil,
I still haven't started the Daredevil rewatch.
I had to watch a lot this weekend because I didn't watch an episode a day. So I had to catch up a bit. It is bad. It's real bad.
I can watch it and play games on my phone, right?
I don't see why not, except for the fact that everyone talks like this the whole time. Except for Foggy. Foggy, for all my problems with Foggy, at least he talks at a normal volume. And at first I was really like, I'm watching him like, am I going deaf? Because everything is a whisper. Right. But then there was a scene where literally they're eating dinner and the sounds of their like forks hitting the plate were louder than their talking.
I know what I actually think I know what the problem is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix defaults to a certain setting.
This is on Disney Plus.
Oh, it's on Disney Plus. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. That's right. I forgot. It's a Netflix show, but it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a problem. Sometimes they the setting is such that it defaults to a 7:1, and then it doesn't give you a center channel properly. But Disney Plus doesn't do that. It shouldn't anyway. I would double check my settings on it just to be sure.
I checked, and other things that's not a problem.
It's just this one show.
Just this show, because everyone talks like this all the time. I have to stop the bad guys. They're very bad. Perrin.
At
Karen.
least you're not going to have any of that
Karen, we need
in
a
the new
fax
show.
machine, Karen. We need a fax machine. There's a whole sequence in one episode about getting a fax machine. It's 2013, 24. When did the show come out? And they even point out, like, who uses fax machines these days? And then they buy a fax machine. It's like, what are you doing? Why? Ugh, I hate it. I'm so upset. I'm so upset watching it.
Well, boy, this is really making me excited for my revisit. Well, guys, we will see you next week. We're hoping Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is great. We will talk about the next issue of Captain America in the intro. We'll go over it quickly. We'll give our quick thoughts on it to end this storyline. And until next time, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be well, but most of all, may you remain a true